Eddie was healthy, he could have been number one. I think Eddie was in his prime in WCW. And the reason I say is because he got in a car accident. That car accident did two things for him. It really inhibited what he could do after that. In other words, he had limits. He could still do a lot, but not like he used to. I watched him in WCW and was like, wow, this kid's incredible. But he had, he almost couldn't walk again after that accidident. So
that was about
Eddie,
98 or so.
Thrown
Eddie
from his car. Banged up when I wrestled him.
Right.
And you could tell the way he bumped. He would bump really, hard like a big man, and he would get back up, and it seemed like he was always hurting. He was, you see him earlier in the day, and he looked like an old man, and it was like he's still that good, and he's banged up the way he is. I just couldn't imagine wrestling Eddie back in '98. Now I wrestled him it's at WrestleMania 20, and we had one of the greatest matches I've ever had. But I always said, I wonder what Eddie was like when he was in WCW. As good as he was in 2004, 2005, he had to be 10 times better back then. That's mind blowing. I mean, he could have been the absolute greatest of all time. Because when I wrestled him, he was still in that top three that you were talking about. So Eddie was. He had it all. He was so entertaining, but he had all the technique. He was such a great wrestler, and he got it. He got finishes. He knew how to structure them. You too, Chris. You're one of the best too. But the night when I got in a fight with Eddie, oh God, what happened? All right. What happened was,
by the way,
Eddie always had a temper.
On a switch. Boom.
And that's the problem, Eddie. When Eddie got mad, you couldn't change his mind. He was going to get pissed. He was going to cut a promo on you, and he would tell you like it is. And the problem is, we had to jump Eddie out in the ring, and I didn't touch him. And but we had these two big goon guys, just Mark Jindrak and
Luther Reigns or something.
Luther Reigns, right? So
Horseshoe.
They're beating the hell out of Eddie, right? So we get heat on him at the end of the show. I'm in the back. I'm waiting for Eddie because I wanted to thank him, but I didn't touch him. He comes straight up to me and blames me for it. And I said, "Whoa, I didn't touch you." Yes, you did, Angle, and this and that. And so this is like the 5th time he confronted me in the last month. So I shoved him. I just wanted to see what he would do. He didn't do anything, and I shoved him again. And he double legs me. Like he could have sucker punched me, but he double legs me, and I'm like, he did not just double leg an Olympic gold medalist. So I laid the hips into him, and then I started choking him out nice and slowly. The problem is, Big Show, who he gave me little guy syndrome that day because he actually grabbed me by my singlet and picked me up
like a puppy.
He picked Eddie up with the other hand, and he walked me over to one side of the room and walked Eddie over to the other side of the room. And I looked at Big Show. I was like, "Don't you ever touch me again." I mean, he made me feel like an 8-year-old kid, and I was pissed. I was like, "Don't you ever grab me by my singlet and pick me up and walk me across the room like that." It was really embarrassing, but that's how strong Big Show was.
Yeah.
But Eddie and I got in a fight. Now, I wanted to make amends with him, and Eddie has a temper. So 5 minutes after that fight, I walk in. I want to say, "I'm sorry, Eddie." I said, "Eddie, I'm sorry about what happened." He goes, "I'm not ready yet." Oh, God. So I said, "You what?" He goes, "I'm not ready to be sorry." So I push him again. I want to fight this poor kid. He doesn't want to double leg me again. So he's just standing there, and JBL got in between us. So I tried to call him that night, and he wasn't ready again. But next week he came to me and he apologized, and we both made up. But Eddie and I were brothers. My brother Eric and I, we fought all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't mind. I mean, I knew that Eddie was very much like my brother Eric, had a temper, and he was going to let it fly every once in a while, and we would get over it, and we did. Eddie got mad at me a million times, but knowing he was exactly like my brother Eric, okay, we can forgive each other the next day and things would move on. But the whole "I'm not ready yet," it really got to me, man. I wanted to kick his